Born to conquer the oceans. In the spring of 1941, as the United States edged closer to a global war, the U.S. Navy faced an uncomfortable truth. Its empire of bases stretched across oceans too vast for ordinary aircraft. The Pacific demanded range, thousands of miles of empty water where there were no runways, no repair depots, no safety nets. Only a true flying ship could bridge that distance. At the Glenn L. Martin Company in Baltimore, engineers under Peyton M. Magruder and Glenn Martin himself imagined something beyond the scale of any existing seaplane, a machine that would not merely fly over the sea, but live upon it. They envisioned a transport with the endurance of a cruiser and the comfort of a ship, a galley where men could cook hot meals, bunks for off-duty crew, and a hull strong enough to settle into open ocean swells. Designated XPB-2M1 Mars, the prototype took form in 1941-42. Its wings spanned 200 feet, longer than most runways in the islands it was meant to reach. Four Wright R-335 duplex Cyclone engines gave it 10,000 horsepower. Inside its hull, naval architects arranged a double deck, cargo below, crew accommodations above. There was a small galley, complete with electric range and coffee urn, and a mess table surrounded by storage lockers that doubled as seats. Compared with the cramped, deafening bombers of its era, the Mars felt luxurious. On 23 June 1942, test pilot William K. Ebel eased the huge aircraft from the waters of the Chesapeake Bay. The Mars climbed smoothly, answering every control input as if born for flight. Observers on the dock called it majestic, half airplane, half ship. The Navy, impressed, ordered a small batch for long-range transport under the new designation JRM Mars. The war, however, was moving faster than production. When the prototype finished trials, the U.S. was still fighting desperately in the Solomons. By the time the first operational Mars was ready, victory was already on the horizon. The Mars never dropped bombs or hunted submarines. Its mission was endurance, carrying men, fuel, and hope across the Pacific. Each flight could haul 32,000 pounds of cargo, or more than 130 troops. Because it operated entirely from water, it could land at forward anchorages where no airstrip existed. Crewmen affectionately called it the Flying Hotel. Among them, the kitchen was not a novelty, but a lifeline. Hot coffee, warm meals, and a brief stretch of sleep in the bunks transformed grueling ocean crossings into something human. By late 1944, the first production aircraft, Hawaii Mars, Philippine Mars, Marshall Mars, Caroline Mars, and Marianas Mars, were entering test service. Each bore the name of an island chain whose defense had cost blood and steel. The final aircraft would not reach the fleet until early 1945, just as the Pacific War neared its climax. Though the Mars arrived too late to change the course of battle, it symbolized the technological confidence that defined America's wartime industry, building not merely to survive, but to master the environment itself.
When peace finally came in August 1945, the U.S. Navy found itself commanding the largest maritime network in history, an empire of island bases stretching from California to Japan. The JRM Mars became the shuttle that stitched that oceanic realm together. From its base at Nas Alameda, the giant seaplane flew to Honolulu, Kwajalein, Guam, Manila, and Tokyo Bay, carrying mail, replacement crews, and mountains of spare parts. To island servicemen weary of slow ships, the Mars was a miracle. In just over 24 hours, it could deliver supplies that once took weeks by sea. Inside, life moved to the rhythm of engines and water. The crew of 4 to 6 lived almost like sailors. The galley, fitted with an electric stove and refrigerator, served constant coffee and simple meals, eggs, bacon, stew ladled from large pots that swayed with the roll of the hull. Bunks lined the rear compartment, each with a curtain for privacy. During night flights, the dim glow of instrument panels reflected off aluminum walls while the navigator plotted positions by starsight. It was aviation turned nautical. The sky transformed into an ocean route. Accidents and weather tested both machine and men. In April 1950, the Marshall Mars was destroyed by an in-flight engine fire and explosion near Oahu, a stark reminder that even giants could fall. The remaining four served faithfully into the early 1950s until jet transports and land-based airfields made them redundant. Yet their story did not end there. In the mid-1950s, the surviving hulls were sold to a Canadian consortium, Forest Industries Flying Tankers, which converted them into firebombers. The galley that once fed sailors now held pumps and hoses. The cargo deck became a vast tank for water and fire retardant. Renamed Hawaii Mars II and Philippine Mars, they spent decades protecting the forests of British Columbia. When they roared low over mountain lakes, scooping 7,200 gallons in a single pass, the old Navy markings could still be seen beneath fresh red paint, a ghost of the Pacific War reborn as a guardian of peacetime. By the early 21st century, the Mars stood as the largest operational flying boat left on Earth, a living relic of an age when airplanes were built like ships and the world still believed in conquering distance with elegance. At museums and air shows, veterans who once served aboard her told stories not of battle, but of fellowship, of long flights over endless blue, of shared meals cooked in that tiny wartime kitchen, and of the quiet pride of bringing everyone home safely. The Martin JRM Mars never fired a shot, yet it embodied the triumph of American engineering and imagination. Born in war, it carried the habits of peace, a reminder that technology, when guided by necessity and compassion, can turn instruments of conflict into vessels of endurance and hope.
Epilogue. The Lesson of the Mars. From the Martin factory floors to the wide Pacific horizons, the Mars proved that practicality and comfort need not be enemies of purpose. Its designers understood that crews fight longer and fly safer when they're cared for. That small galley, that cup of hot coffee in mid-ocean, symbolized a nation's confidence that it could master not only machinery, but the morale of the men who used it. Today, the surviving Hawaii Mars rests as a monument to that era, a gleaming red and white giant sleeping by the lakes of British Columbia. It carries within its riveted hull the echo of engines, the laughter of sailors at breakfast, and the hum of a kitchen that once fed the sky.